Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Broads. What a very heavy Philadelphia sports Sunday this is. The Sixers got to win. Eagles blow out Cincinnati, and the Sixers get their first win of the regular season. And I needed this badly. I would not have done well with an 0-3 start, especially because, let's be honest, that Friday night effort in Toronto was disgusting. Friday night, my wife was binge watching one of her Netflix shows. I put my daughter to sleep around 7:15. I was able to head into the basement, have a delicious garage beer because there's no better beer out there. 0% IPA, 100% light beer, 1,000% quality. DrinkGarageBeer.com. Check it out in the description. There's nothing better than kicking back and chugging a few of those bad boys while watching my basketball team. But then I realized real quickly, they're about to get blown out by a team that was missing a ton of their players, and they're not very good. I know the Sixers didn't have Embiid and Paul George, but there's no way in hell it was acceptable to lose that badly and that ugly to that Raptors team. It's not okay. So if they were to go into Indiana and piss all over their leg again, I would not have handled this well. Tyrese Maxey, a tale of two halves. That first half was maybe even worse than the first two games he put together. And that's saying a lot because he was awful in the first 8 quarters of this season. Am I doing the math right? No, the first 10 quarters of the year was horrible. When he traveled in Indiana, I don't know if I've seen a worse individual travel in my life. Defensively, I was screaming at the TV, yo, dude, come on, man. You may miss shots. You may not have a feel yet for knocking down your baskets or getting to the line or anything that's uncontrollable, right? Sometimes it may just be a couple games in a row where you're having a tough time with your stroke shooting the rock. But defensively, this is terrible. Come on. And then the second half happened. Yo, dude was on a mission. After he got to the line, he reset, played with emotion. Okay? I saw him talking trash. I saw him talking himself into this one. He wasn't afraid to play with a ton of personality out there, and it really translated to some electric ball. 45 points, some big shots, a massive surge, put the team on his back. And you know the Sixers have a plan, right? Well, the plan, as much as it is about Embiid not playing a certain amount of games, the cause and effect is in play here with Tyrese Maxey. And what I mean is, if you're not going to have Embiid for, let's say, 30-something regular season games, and by the way, Paul George is no spring chicken. My man is in his mid-30s, and as you can see, he could get banged up at any time and have to miss some games too. They're putting a ton of pressure on Tyrese Maxey to have to will them to victory in some of these regular season matchups. Whether they recognize that or not, whether they think he's ready for that workload or not, whether it's just strictly about we don't give a damn what else happens. It's strictly get Joel Embiid healthy to the finish line, and whatever obstacles we have to jump to do that, we'll figure it out on the fly. Reality is, Tyrese Maxey has a lot of pressure to be the one to lead this team throughout the regular season as the guy in these type of games, and he was able to do it in Indiana. How many games will we do it for? I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe this will spark him. Maybe this is what he needs to get himself really in rhythm. I hope it's not too long until we see one of the big pieces here. Come on. Detroit Pistons coming up this week. Let's go. It's time. I've been waiting too damn long to watch the big fella again. I convinced myself once they got Paul George, hey, why not? Why not dive 2 feet in again like the idiot and the stupid moron that I am? And I get robbed of it for the first few games. Let's go. Big win, though. Big win in Indiana, and what a bizarre game, no? First off, Caleb Martin. Are you kidding me? How dumb of a basketball play was that? Fouling. If that costed this team the dub, I don't know what I would have done. I don't even want to think about it because it wouldn't have been pretty. I saw Nick Nurse almost play it off late. Don't worry about it, vet. I didn't hear anything post-game. I'm just strictly talking when the clock hit 0, when Caleb Martin went to the bench, and he tapped him on the head and all. I'm going, dude. I mean, I want to see someone's face turn purple. That is inexcusable from somebody who's been around the league as long as humanly possible. Now, I feel, since I brought that up, maybe I should see exactly how Nick Nurse handled things post-game, because that is pretty bad. Why Joel Embiid and Paul George traveled? What is this? Normally, when a player is dealing with an ailment and their team goes on the road, the player stays behind to get some work done. That is not the current case for Joel Embiid and Paul George. The Sixers have the 2 stars traveling on this current 2-game road trip, despite Embiid managing his left knee issues and George dealing with a bone bruise in his left knee. Coach Nick Nurse wants them to be a part of the team and wants them to continue preparing. We're trying to get them on the court, right? So we got to get them to practice in Indiana. We're doing a shoot-around today. We're trying to ramp them up a little bit. And since our team's here, it's our best chance to do so. Okay. I think they're making progress. Okay. Nick Nurse on Caleb Martin. I got to see what this man had to say about it. I guess nothing. Nothing popped up on Twitter. That's a little strange to me. I mean, that seems like a pretty important discussion after that game. But I digress. Halliburton's double clutch 3-pointer to put the game into overtime. You know what that reminded me of? The Villanova NCAA National Championship game when Marcus Page for UNC went down the one side of the court, pulled up, double clutched, bang, and then Chris Jenkins with the confetti falling on the other side of the floor as Jay Wright and Villanova storms the court. That's exactly what it reminded me of. Ridiculous. Just crazy that Tyrese Halliburton was able to make that shot. And thank the Lord it didn't go into any double overtime, because I'm going, come on, let's wrap this in. Can we get the dub? Can we get the dub? Now, I heard a lot of the Pacers post-game say they thought that they really let this one slip and they did such a trash job closing out the game. And my thought to that is, don't disrespect what Tyrese did. My man dropped 45 points essentially in 2 quarters and then 5 minutes of overtime, because he was tragic in the first 48 minutes of play. No, 24. My God, I hate math. What else happened? Oh, the referees. Man, I don't even want to talk about what happened in the late game situations with the replay booth. And this is after, in Toronto, I had to deal with 100 free throws because Tony Brothers is arguably the worst ref to ever be associated in the NBA. I don't know how they continue to put him on the schedule. I would just not. I would just not, because he sucks and he makes it terrible for me. I'm going to go, how long's this game? We got to start putting a pitch clock o'clock on Tony Brothers games because, Major League Baseball found a way to snip 45 minutes off their action. And here I am watching a 4.5-hour NBA game in Toronto when Toronto's missing key pieces. We're missing a bunch of guys. I'm watching vomit, and yet it lasts 3 hours longer than it should because Tony Brothers blows. There's a part of me that realizes when we have talks like that, I just want Embiid and Paul George back. I just want to watch them play, okay? There's a word. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm being teased. That's what it is. It's a tease. People are running around in Sixers uniforms playing the sport, but I'm getting robbed because Embiid's greatness. Say what you will about how annoying it is that him and the Sixers put us in this position to begin with. I still miss it. I still want to see what the hell the dynamic looks like with him and Paul George and Maxey. Because for as much as we're screaming that Maxey hasn't looked polished and great throughout 10 quarters of play, you don't need him to do all of that, to be the high leverage guy, if you will, baseball on the mind, but to be the everything, to play with speed, to attack, to get fouled, to set up guys. There's times where it's not right. It's not what he does well. It's not organic. It's not natural. It doesn't come to him the way that you would want it to come to him. That's not his game. It's not his pure, in his blood game. And then we all get agitated and mad that he's not distributing the ball like Chris Paul in his prime, running an offense with pure dominance. But when he's option 2, option 3 behind Joel and Paul, change the whole dynamic. I want to see it. I want to see what Nick Nurse is capable of doing on the defensive end. You know how he gets creative. You know how he starts pushing buttons. Well, what can we do? What can we see? I don't even give a damn right now. I'm so hungry for this that I don't even care if it's against the Pistons. I don't even care if it's against some of these crap teams. It's got to be better than watching the team play now without him. I'm watching too much Yabusele. I'll get the last name down. I'm watching too much. Who else is getting too much time? I don't know. Eric Gordon's and Caleb Martin's and Kyle Lowry and all this stuff. Even though Kyle Lowry only logged like 17 minutes in this one, it's not what I want to watch. But hey, Andre Drummond. You proud of that? You proud of that defense from Andre Drummond? Getting a steal as the Pacers go up to take one of their final shots. He snags it, gets his hands in the cookie jar. Wow. Andre Drummond making some defensive plays. Good win. To summarize this thing, good win, and it's a good way to follow up what happened in Toronto because I was really mad. You go to a Milwaukee Bucks game to start the year. Not me specifically. I didn't get a chance to go to that game, but I'm just saying I talked to a lot of people that did. I know the town was excited for the Bucks. It's game 1. The NBA season's here. And you go, huh? Really? Well, all right. And then Friday happened and you go, oh, God. We can't beat that team. Oh. So then they win in Indiana in a game that is labeled by many as one that literally makes no sense. Because that game was as wacky gets. But look, you got to win the wacky ones. Okay? And sometimes you got to pull one out of your rear end. And that's what the Sixers were able to do, even with stupid, boneheaded fouls late in the game. That reminds me of J.R. Smith and LeBron James and the meme of, you gotta be kidding me. What are you doing? Are you sick in the head? Are you comprehending any of this game that we're playing right now? Where's your brain? Nuts. All right, let's go to the Anytime Hotline. Before we do, though, if you are new to the channel here, hello, welcome on in to Sports Talk with Broads. We break down Philly sports every day here. So if you are new and you want to continue being a part of this awesome community that we've built, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and you can take me on the road with you to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your podcasting platforms. If you search Broads Media or Sports Talk with Broads, subscribe over there. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the algorithm so much. I can't thank you all enough for the crazy, wild support. You guys are truly amazing. Wouldn't be here today without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And all right, with that, we will send things off to the Anytime Hotline. A lot of my Anytime Hotline today, as we're recording this on Sunday, is filled with Eagles reaction. So over the weekend, a few Sixers fans called in with their thoughts on Joel Embiid and the state of the franchise. So I'm going to snag a couple of calls that have to do with the overall organizational view right now. More of that than reaction to Pacers and the Sixers, just because obviously a lot of the thoughts today were in the Eagles this afternoon. So, all right, with that, let's go to Andre in Vancouver.
Broads, man, I got to admit, this team is really testing my patience, because the teams that I cheer for are teams with players that don't play scared. Like, the season hasn't even started, and we're already playing scared. Like, Embiid is sitting out, all right? That's supposed to be our leader. That's supposed to be our franchise player. That's supposed to be our main dog, and our main dog is scared to play. Like, how are you supposed to win a championship? I don't get it. This whole rest thing is totally overrated. All it is just babying these athletes. All right? I've never heard in my life to pay a guy more money for him to play less games. That's insane to me. And honestly, they're really testing my patience. It's getting harder and harder to cheer for these teams, because I'd like to cheer for guys that like to play. All right? I have a 7-year-old daughter. She had a hurt foot. I told her, you know what? Go out there and play for your team. But apparently for the $200 million athlete, we can't do that. I don't know, bros. Help this make sense for me.
I wish I could. I understand the frustration, because enough is enough already. It seems every year we go through a very similar thing, whether it's because he physically is unable to play or they are sitting him out. We're not getting a product that we should be getting on a night-to-night basis, so I get why that would bother a lot of fans. So over the weekend, I was running some errands was this Saturday morning, and Keith Pompey was a guest on Rob Ellis and Mike Sealski's show. And something that was brought up was load management with Kawhi Leonard. And when you really dig into the whole Kawhi Leonard stuff and how they have monitored him over the years, first off, there's been times like when they won a championship, they were a quadruple doink away from not going on that run. But they do go on that run. He brought up that luck is involved. I mean, they could have been a second-round exit team, right? But they weren't. They got by. They beat a Bucks team. When you get to the finals, you go through the most broken version of the Golden State Warriors team there is. And when you look at prior to the load management, he played maybe 8 or 9 games the year before. His words, not mine, but I was listening. I go, huh. And the reason I bring this all up is there is this narrative around Kawhi Leonard that because Kawhi Leonard did this and took this path, this is now a blueprint for others to steal. This is now something that can be copycatted, the copycat league. This worked for him. Now let's use it to our advantage. And reality is not that there's no truth to it because at this point, I think you have to consider it because you know the other option has failed year in and year out. It's time to do something new. I'm just more pissed at the lack of communication, the lack of openness. We have no clue. We have no clue what's going on with the MVP of your team and the guy that matters most to even have a chance. Whether you think he stinks, whether you think he's overrated, whether you think you'll never win with him, you're not even in the conversation of potentially getting out of the second damn round without Joel Embiid right now. And nobody has a clue on where he truly is or why he's even where he truly is right now. And that is absurd. You got to be more transparent. You got to be more open. You got to be more willing to communicate with the fan base because you are so damn tone deaf as an organization. But when you go back and study the Kawhi Leonard load management, how much of it is, damn, that is such an elite plan. That is such a crazy, absurd, phenomenal, beautiful plan. It's a no-brainer that that's going to work. Or they happen to win. A lot of things happen their way. A quadruple doink bounce shot goes through. And Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors all break down. And the timing of it, the availability of Kawhi Leonard the year before. So you really had a lot less wear and tear on your body compared to where Joel Embiid is with the meniscus injury, the surgery, the playoff run, the Olympics, and now getting thrown back into it a little late. But your body's not as rested as Kawhi Leonard's was the year prior. Is that an obvious blueprint? And I guess the reason I bring it up too is sometimes you forget the details on everything that transpired with Kawhi, and it's always so highly talked about on how magnificent that went and the experience. But I don't know if that's something that is able to be duplicated. That path is not easy to replicate. Because a lot of it had to do with either the bounce of the basketball gods and then injuries for the opponent. And who's to say that couldn't happen if the Sixers were to face a certain opponent and instead of Joel Embiid getting injured, not that I would ever want to see anybody get injured ever, but it's just a part of playing sports. If something happened to someone on the other team and that person is a horrible matchup for the Sixers and he's unplayable and you're able to get through the second round easier than you normally would because that player just can't tie up his shoes for those 7 games or whatever. I mean, yeah, technically that could happen, but that probably would happen with or without skipping 35 to 40 regular season games. That's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. If the Toronto Raptors didn't load manage Kawhi Leonard that year, the quadruple doink may still happen. The injuries to the Golden State Warriors could still happen. The championship could still happen. So, just talking out loud a little bit, but it did make me go, huh, as I was listening. Is it a no-brainer plan to follow? I don't know. I'm just more aggravated with the lack of awareness on where they stand with us, the city. They're disrespecting the fans big time. And that doesn't sit right with me. I will say, though, the amount of calls I've taken on the radio that said I've sold my season tickets or I started out as a full-time season ticket holder for X amount of years. Now I'm partial, and now I'm even debating if I want to go partial. There are a lot of people who are very angry, just like Andre in Vancouver. And I really don't fault anybody because this is sort of the area that I think it is okay to start making decisions like that and to start getting super angry. Some have felt this way for the last 3 years. For me, I wasn't there 3 years ago. I wasn't there 2 years ago. But now I get it. I do. I do get it. All right, let's take another call here.
Yo, what's up, bro? 76ers for life. Win or lose, 76ers for life, bro. It's been a minute since I talked to you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I just want to talk about this Joel Embiid situation. I don't like what just transpired. I mean, he just signed a max extension. He just signed an extension, and now all of a sudden he's hurt and he's not playing. I don't know. I don't know what the Sixers or Nick Nurse. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, he didn't play nothing but 39 games last year, but he was able to play in the Olympics, and now he's hurt again. This needs to be addressed. I'm actually with the league if they start an investigation on us about this. I don't know. This just sounds really fishy to me. So he's just like you say, he doesn't get to play until January. Not saying that that's what's going to happen, but it sounds like he's not going to play for a while. All right.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't know if it's going to fully be until January. There were some whispers down the lane about Detroit. I don't know exactly when it's going to be, but it'll be a lot of regular season games missed throughout the year. There's no doubt about it. And I don't know if he's injured right now. I actually don't think he is. I don't think he's injured at all. I think they just don't want him to start in October because they feel if he plays October and November at a full rate, that those are games that you can maybe save his body and you can rest his body. And since there's no actual injury, that's why the league is investigating, because they feel that he should be out there. If he's good to go, he needs to be out there. You can't just sit him and just rest him because you don't want him to perform, because you don't want him to break down. He's healthy. He's got to play. So I think that's more or less about what's going on here, and we'll figure out. I talked about the messaging with the fans. I also don't like the messaging to the team. How many times have we seen a lot of teams get a lot of talent, right? And they get a three-headed monster, and they get a lot of different stars, right? They get a new face, a new trade, Kyrie or whatever, James Harden, this team, Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers. And then those players play 30% of the games together in the regular season. How many times does it work out where they go and win a title? I'm serious. How many times this team has Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. I'm just making up names. This team got Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Well, guess what? They all got hurt. They all couldn't play together. They failed. Kevin Durant almost took the Nets. Game 7, his foot was on the line. If you remember that crazy shot, he almost did it himself. But when all these guys get injured, they don't play well because they don't ever have time to play together. And then you just want to magically make it all happen at the end of the year. And this guy never got back in time. This guy's still nursing an ankle. It never works. It truly never works. So I actually started the show happy for a win, excited to have them back. And then by the end, as we took calls about the overall approach, got a little angry again. People look at me as someone who's never happy. Seriously. People look at me as the guy who is never happy about sports, to the point where they ask, why do you do this? And to that I say, I'm only reacting to the nonsense that is. So when things are great, I'm just saying, all this down is an up. And it's probably the most fun ever. We're just going through a Philly season that ended poorly, a start of the Sixers season that is so painful, a Flyers team that's garbage and should be better, even if they're not a Stanley Cup contender, better. And the Eagles, prior to the Cincinnati game, has been disappointing. I promise, when things are great, if you haven't had an opportunity to see what it's like yet, for as bad as it is when it's down, it's that much of a high. I just haven't been able to get it. Don't get mad at me. I mean, the teams are the one putting me here. That's all. All right, that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Love you all to death, and I'll catch you on the next one.